Hola muchachos, ¿qué tal? Buenos días. Aquí tienen el horario para hoy, viernes, el 28 de abril. No homework due for today. Due for next class is your presentación oral, mi celebración favorita. You can go ahead and cruise toward the end of this video if you would like detailed instructions for how to go about that assignment. Let's get right to our to-do list for today. Warm-up is a fill-in-the-blank warm-up. Pretérito o imperfecto, we'll review the notes that we started, or took rather, last class on page 219, describing the grammar of both the preterite and the imperfect and how they're used together to describe a situation. We'll then go over the guided practice. I think I only have time for exercise 10, potentially. We'll be able to fit exercise 12 as well. And then we'll begin working on your oral presentation about your favorite holiday from when you were a kid. You can click on this hyperlink here for vocabulary for popular celebrations that you all may have covered or likely covered in Spanish 1. Clicking on that link, you can find a comprehensive list of quote-unquote popular holidays and how they're said in Espanol, and then some phrases, key vocabulary that you could associate with each of those. All right, back to our warm-up. The difference in use between the preterite and the imperfect for today's warm-up. Number your paper 1 through 4, and for each number, fill in the blank with the correct conjugation of the imperfect, and you can find your imperfect conjugations on page 194 and 196, and then preterite, the simple past tense, can be found on pages 110 for regular and 140 for irregular verbs. Take a look at some of the examples there. Por ejemplo, de niño, mi familia y yo íbamos a San Francisco los fines de semana. And we're using the imperfect in this example because we have the phrase de niño, right, which is when I was little or when I was a kid. And then we also have the reference to time there in italics, los fines de semana, which are the weekends, plural. So we're referring to a repeated action in the past, and that is why the imperfect is used here for this first example. Take a look at the second one. El martes pasado, yo fui a la casa de mis tíos para cenar. Last Tuesday, I went to my aunt and uncle's house to have dinner. Simple past tense, preterite. For this example, because we have el martes pasado, last Tuesday, that is a completed, just singular reference, a reference to a completed action in the past. All right, we'll do 1 and 2 together. 3 and 4, I'll have you do on your own. And again, this is in reference to the notes that we took last class on page 219, with the objective of you guys being able to talk and write about childhood memories and experiences, and using the preterite and the imperfect together to tell a story, essentially, in the past. Preterite is used for those completed actions that happen only once and that have a specific reference in terms of when it happened in the past. Hace 50 años, 50 years ago. Mis abuelos se casaron hace 50 años. My grandparents got married 50 years ago. Celebramos su aniversario el mes pasado. We celebrated their anniversary last month. So normally the preterite will be accompanied by a particular reference to the past. Imperfect, however, will not have a specific beginning or end point. Like your childhood, for example, is very ambiguous in terms of when that began and when it ended. When you're describing people, places, or things, situations in the past, like how you guys described yourself, for your autobiographical presentation, you use the imperfect. Yo era. Era is the imperfect of the verb ser when you were describing your family members, your family unit, and you yourself. And then the imperfect and the preterite can be used together when you're describing a situation or giving background information. So the imperfect is the setting, whereas the preterite indicates what took place within that setting. For example, todos mis parientes bailaban cuando nosotros llegamos. All my relatives were dancing. Imperfect to tell what someone was doing, giving the setting. Cuando llegamos, when we arrived. And this action is something that happened in this greater setting. So that action should be in the simple past. So taking a look at your warm-up for today, mi hermano tener 5 años cuando ir a San Francisco por la primera vez. Anytime we talk about age, we're also going to use the imperfect when talking about age in the past. So the correct answer for the first blank in number 1 is tenía, T-E-N-I-A. Tenía 5 años, mi hermano, cuando, and then la primera vez is the first time. One can only do something once for the first time. So it's got to be a completed action or viewed as a completed action in the past. So preterite of the verb ir, talking about mi hermano, would be fue. Mi hermano tenía 5 años cuando fue a San Francisco por la primera vez. Number 2, mi novia y yo mirar una película cuando ocurrir un terremoto. So my girlfriend and I were watching a movie when an earthquake happened. Mi novia y yo mirábamos. Right? This is the action that's giving us the background information or setting. Mi novia y yo mirábamos cuando, and then the second action is providing an interrupting action, right? Or something that happened or interrupted, whatever this ongoing action is. So back to the warm-up. This verb ocurrir wants to be in the preterite. And if we're talking about un terremoto, an earthquake, that's third person singular. Of ocurrir in the preterite would be ocurrió. Mi novia y yo mirábamos una película cuando ocurrió un terremoto. I'll translate 3 and 4 for you, and then I'll let you work on those on your own. Number 3, Marco was practicing the guitar when a rainstorm began. One is imperfect, one is preterite. Number 4, I saw on the news that it was very cloudy in the Bay Area today. And that is your warm-up for today. We already reviewed the notes on page 219. Let's do the guided practice exercise 10 on page 219 now. Ejercicio 10, página 219. At the bottom of page 219, la Semana Santa. Patricia, una estudiante norteamericana que está pasando un año en España, les escribe a sus padres sobre una experiencia fantástica que tuvo. Completa su descripción con las formas apropiadas del pretérito o del imperfecto. So, Patricia, a North American student, exchange student that's spending the year in Spain writes to her parents about a wonderful experience that she had recently during La Semana Santa, which is the week of Easter, Holy Week. So you're going to complete her description with the appropriate forms of either the preterite or the imperfect. This is not an easy exercise. It is similar to that of our warm-up. Know that your final exam, which I gave you guys a study guide on last class, know that your final exam will look very similar to this, but it'll be multiple choice. So everything we're doing now in quarter 4 is level 3 or higher. We're doing level 3 and level 4 work now. Spanish 2 essentially ended at the end of quarter 3. So all what we're doing now is going to feel more challenging because it is of another level, right? It's getting you ready for next year. And I'm so happy that so many of you elected to continue. So many of you have decided to continue on. And I think that's awesome that you guys are willing to take that challenge on. All right, so let's walk through the first few together. I'll help translate some of the rest of the ones that you guys are going to do on your own to give you a little bit of context and help you out. All right, so verbs are provided in the infinitive. How are we going to conjugate them? Are we going to conjugate them in the preterite? Does it feel like an action that's being viewed as completed, done, happening once? Or does it feel like it's a verb in the imperfect because it's a continuous action? Or it's describing a person, place, or thing? Or is it providing some background information to tell us what someone was doing, and then whatever happened thereafter would be in the preterite? All right, let's do the first 3 together. Queridos padres, acabo de pasar unos días increíbles. Mi familia española decidir ir a Sevilla para celebrar la Semana Santa. So, dear parents, I just spent a few amazing days, incredible days. My Spanish family decided to go to Sevilla to celebrate Holy Week. So, decidir is one of those verbs that is more often than not going to be in the preterite, because when we decide something, it's kind of viewed as a completed action, right? It's not an ongoing activity. It's just one and done, right? To decide, to be born, to die, to occur, like how we saw in the warm-up, that example with the verb occur, or to begin. We saw that in the warm-up as well. Comenzar. These verbs are more than likely going to be in the preterite. They're viewed as completed in the past. So, number 1, decidir, in the preterite, according to our subject, mi familia española decidió ir a Sevilla para celebrar la Semana Santa. Nosotros llegar el martes por la noche y las calles ya estar llenas de personas. So we arrived Tuesday night, and the streets were already full of people. Let's take 2 and 3 separate. So number 2, llegar, the verb to arrive, is similar to decidir in that, it's a completed action. Moreover, we have a specific reference to time, Tuesday night. So this is going to be in the preterite, in the nosotros form. Nosotros llegamos el martes por la noche. And then here we're saying the streets were full of people. So we're describing what the streets were like. We're describing a place. Or you can make an argument. We're kind of, describing the situation or background information. Either way, it's imperfect. So the imperfect of estar, according to your subject, which is las calles, it's plural. So the correct answer is going to be las calles ya estaban llenas de personas. Estaban. Do one more together. Había un desfile que en la Semana Santa se llama procesión. En la procesión, ver pasos muy grandes con flores y estatuas enormes que se llaman imágenes de las iglesias. So, during the procession, or in the procession, I saw really big floats. Now, the verb to see isn't describing the floats. The verb to see is saying, hey, I saw the floats. It's not a completed act, or excuse me, it's not describing them. It's just simply saying a completed action, to see. So, ver in the preterite here, and we can assume that this is probably in the yo form, right? Because it's Patricia writing a letter to her parents. En la procesión, yo vi. Vi with an accent. Yo vi pasos muy grandes, etc., etc. All right, for number 5, the images were old and amazing, or antique and amazing. A woman left the balcony and began to sing. And finally, the float arrived at the entrance to the cathedral. Give you a little context for the rest of those there. I'll have you guys wrap that up. And now we'll take a look at your guys' oral presentation assignment, which is on page 231. Presentación oral, oral presentation, mi celebración favorita. So rather than doing an email, I'm going to have you guys do a video message where I require of you 2 things. And we'll talk about this in class, of course. And you'll take notes on it, and you'll have it to refer to, and you have a rubric to refer to here, down here as well. Again, that's on page 231. For this oral presentation, you're going to provide 2 things. A photo of your favorite holiday or celebration from when you were a child. And again, don't forget about that link that I alluded to at the very beginning of the video, where you have a very comprehensive list of a lot of different holidays in Espanol, and some key vocabulary that you could use for each. And yeah, provide a picture of that one picture of you celebrating your favorite holiday from when you were younger, just like how you did for your autobiographical presentation. Just need one picture. You're more than welcome to do more. I think it would be great if you did more, but the requirement is one photo. Okay? And then you're going to narrate that photo in your responses to these 5 questions. Let's go over those together. ¿Qué hacían? What did you do? Or what did you used to do to celebrate that special occasion? ¿Dónde se reunían? Where did you get together to celebrate that special occasion? ¿Cómo era? What was the occasion like? How would you describe it? ¿Quiénes estaban? Who was there to celebrate with you? And ¿por qué te gustaba? What did you like about that holiday? Why was it your favorite? All right, so let's take a look at the first question now. ¿Qué hacían? How did you used to celebrate this special occasion? So you can begin similar in this way. Mi celebración favorita era, and then fill in with your favorite subject. Or excuse me, not your favorite subject, your favorite holiday. Mi celebración favorita era la Navidad. Era el día de la independencia. Era el día de San Valentín. You're going to put your holiday here. And then you're going to indicate one thing that you and your family used to do to celebrate. Íbamos a la casa de mi abuela. Visitábamos, we used to visit. Visitábamos familia en San Jose. Comíamos mucha comida. Cocinábamos. Bailábamos. Cantábamos. Probably in the nosotros form. Your verb would be in the imperfect to say what you guys used to do. Give me at least one verb in the imperfect. Now you'll need 5 verbs. You need, let's see, 3, 4, 5 verbs in the imperfect, and you'll end up having that in your responses to all 5 questions. So one verb is totally fine, although you're welcome to do more. To say one thing at the very least that you used to do to celebrate that holiday. Second question, ¿Dónde se reunían? Where did you guys used to get together? Nosotros nos reuníamos. Nos reuníamos. Nosotros nos reuníamos. ¿Dónde? Where? Nosotros nos reuníamos en mi casa. En la casa de mis primos. En la casa de mis padres. Or you can put a city name. Or a common noun like iglesia. Or restaurante. Or, no sé, en la playa. ¿Quién sabe? Parque. Right? So indicate where you used to get together for that second question. And it begins with nosotros nos reuníamos. All your verbs are going to be in the imperfect. ¿Cómo era? How would you describe it? La celebración era, and then we're looking for an adjective. La celebración era muy divertido. Muy gracioso, a lot of fun, or really funny. Rápido, went by fast. Era rápido, era especial. Era único. Único means unique or special, especial. So we're looking for an adjective to describe what the celebration was like. ¿Quiénes estaban? Who was there with you? So begin with the answer. Who? Mis abuelos, mis padres, mis hermanos, mis tíos, mis primos estaban en la celebración. And then lastly, ¿por qué te gustaba? Why was it your favorite when you were a kid? Give the one reason and try to keep it concise and within your capacity in the language. Me gustaba la Navidad porque yo recibía muchos regalos. Right? Recibir is the verb to receive or get. Me gustaba el día de la independencia porque era muy, muy divertido y comíamos mucho. So you can even kind of combine a little bit of some of your previous responses to share why this holiday was your favorite as a kid. And you're going to submit that oral presentation as either a video or an audio file in Canvas. And that will narrate the picture that you'll choose. And ideally that picture is of you and your family enjoying that holiday from when you were younger. All right, that is your oral presentation. The rubric down there you can use to guide you. You're going to respond to all 5 questions to get 5 points for this category. To have accuracy, you're going to use 5 verbs or more correctly conjugated in the imperfect. And you can go to pages 194 for your regular imperfect conjugations, right? 196 for your irregular verb conjugations. And then lastly, that final category for the oral presentation is with regard, 231, apologies, is with regard to vocabulary. So, looking for verbs that you would associate, and you can look in the glossary on page 234, verbs that you would associate with how we celebrate, how we embrace and engage family during celebrations. Locations of where we get together to celebrate, adjectives to describe, family member vocabulary, of course, is what we're looking for here. And then really a mixture of all of that vocab to indicate why it was your favorite. You have an example here to model off of, and we'll create it together in class, so that way you're not having to do so much on your own. And that is your homework for next class, Presentación Oral.